What is up everyone, and welcome back to another video. So as you probably know, chapter 4 season 4 is out, and with it came a rank reset. So everyone that was previously unreal or even another high rank, you've probably lost some rank and now you got to start building back up again. And as I'm sure you also know, it can be very difficult sometimes to get that rank up and consistently go up over time. And that's why in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys some of my best tips that you can use to rank up super fast in Fortnite chapter 4 season 4. And if you listen to all the tips in this video and you apply them to your gameplay, you should see some huge improvements and hopefully reach unreal rank, or at least rank up more than you did last season. Before we get into it, be sure to drop a like on the video if it helps you out, subscribe if you're new to the channel and you want to see more, and of course it's always appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It only takes a couple seconds to type in and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a huge thank you to everyone who uses it. But with all that said and without further ado, let's get into today's video. So starting off this video, and the first topic I want to discuss is the best game mode. The best game mode is a topic that we've been talking about pretty much ever since Arena first came out. The best game mode is one of those topics that's really going to depend on the individual. Everybody seems to have a preference for it and nobody seems to think the other game modes are good. But honestly guys, the game modes really don't have a giant differential when it comes to ranking up. And the best move to rank up is honestly to do whatever you're best at. If you find yourself being a better solo player and you don't want the possible distractions that come with teammates, then run solos. If you have one teammate that you play tournaments with or just really like playing with, maybe prioritize duos. And if you have a really good team or just a couple of friends to play with, or you just enjoy pure chaos, then squads might be your best option. Overall, when it comes to picking a game mode, don't base it on the amount of rank you can get, because truthfully there's no way for us to know for sure what's best for that. And when you play each of the three modes and you compare them in terms of how many points you gain or how much rank you gain, there's really not much of a difference. So my honest advice is to run the mode you enjoy the most or the one you find yourself performing best in, and just stick to that one. One crucial area to understand is what actually gains you rank, since Epic doesn't like to tell us for some reason. With Arena it was very transparent, you knew exactly how to gain points and it was pretty straightforward, whereas with ranked mode basically you just play the game and you either rank up or don't. Sometimes you'll feel like you had a really good game and you'll lose rank. Sometimes you feel like you had a terrible game and all you got was a bit of placement and for some reason you go up 20%. But when it comes to gaining rank, it's going to be a combination of ranked quests, placement, and eliminations. The first area of this, and one that I find pretty underrated, is going to be your ranked quest. This is basically just a quest that's given to you at the start of each match, and whenever you can get this done, definitely try to. The ranked quest can give you a big boost and potentially turn a game where you otherwise would have lost points into a pretty solid one. The ranked quest is a very simple quest usually. It's usually like deal some damage with this type of weapon or get eliminations with like headshots or something like that. It's usually something that you can very easily attain if you focus on it, so obviously don't throw away your game to get the ranked quest, but if it's something realistic then definitely go for it. When it comes to placement, it's going to be pretty simple. Placing high in the game is important to avoid losing rank, and dying off spawn is one of the most dangerous things you can do for your rank. Generally, if you're placed within the top 5 or top 10 or anywhere in that area, that's going to be ideal, and the only huge bump you're going to see after that is like top 1, top 2, top 3. So overall, when you're playing, you want to set your sights on a good placement like top 10 or something like that, and if you do place higher than that, then that's just bonus. Eliminations are also a pretty weird one because they have two rules that seem pretty obscure. First off, they're worth more as the game goes on, meaning endgame kills are the most valuable, and they also give more or less depending on your opponent's rank, which is largely out of your control unfortunately. For example, if you get 10 kills on people that all suck versus 3 or 4 kills on people that are in like Unreal or something like that, you'll probably gain about the same amount of points for each. So honestly, I'd say the best course of action for a normal player is to prioritize getting a couple kills early to secure your drop spot if you need to, and then prioritize getting that approximately top 10 area as we discussed before. This is a good area where you're probably not going to lose points and you set yourself up pretty well to gain points if you do even better. Of course, in the meantime, if you have an isolated fight or something like that, you can absolutely take it, especially in mid game, but you do want to be really careful guys, because a ton of people are third partying this season, especially with all the mobility in the meta. After you secure some placement, then go ahead and take some more fights if you think they're good ones to go for. Ideally, you're going to get a couple kills early from your drop spot, secure some good loot and materials, make it to end game, get a couple more kills there, and you should gain some really solid points. The next thing I want to talk about is modifying your strategy, because you want to keep in mind that modifying your strategy is always going to be an option depending on how you're doing. You do have the option of W keying the whole game if you're really good at fighting, and that's definitely a really powerful way to gain points if you do it right. But once you're in the higher ranks, for most people that's probably going to be a struggle. What I'm saying here is to feel free to adjust your strategy and play more or less aggressive depending on how you're performing and where your rank is going. If you've been pushing every single fight you run into and you're still gaining points and you're still going up consistently, then absolutely go for that. That's the best way for you to rank up. If you need to focus on placement and you find yourself dying a lot in early and mid game fights, then prioritize that. Overall, the best way to rank up for you is going to be totally different from your favorite pro or even your own teammates. It's a very individual thing. We all have our own strengths and weaknesses, and it mostly is going to depend on what situations you're actually good at within the game. So what I'm saying is the strategy I discussed before is a very good strategy for most of you guys, but you want to keep in mind that you always have the option to modify it. Even if you have one basic strategy that you go for, if if you're feeling particularly good one day, you feel like you're winning every fight, then you can go ahead and W key. If you feel like you're playing terrible and you just want to get some placement points, then do that. Just bear in mind that there's no specific strategy you have to go for within ranked. I can give you recommendations, but ultimately it's going to come down to how you're playing that day and how you actually prefer to play the game. So just bear that in mind and you should be in a pretty good spot. Moving on from that, and the next topic I want to discuss is drop spots. Drop spots are a very big key in ranked because this is ultimately going to set the pace for the rest of your game. If you have a really good early game, you got a good rotation, good loot, good materials, you got a couple kills off spawn, you're going to be setting up your momentum so good for the rest of the game. For the vast majority of people watching, hot dropping at one of the new mythic POIs or something like that is absolutely not going to be the move. Dying off spawn is a huge risk and can lose you a lot of points. I'm sure you guys know this. So ideally, you're going to want to have a couple players at your drop spot, but still secure some good loot and materials. So you want to land at a place where you can get good stuff, but you also don't have too many people there. Another option is to land close to, but not at one of the new POIs. And then you actually have the option to rotate in there once you get some decent stuff. That way you can third party and hopefully end up getting the vault. Usually people take a little bit to get into the vault. So if you take some time to loot up and get some good stuff and then you push them, oftentimes you can get an easy third party on a fight or find someone that just got out of a fight, get the kill on them and get the vault. It is a risky move, but it's less risky than landing directly in that POI. So it's something to consider. Otherwise though, a normal medium population spot is a perfectly good choice. And that's what I would recommend for probably 90% of you guys. When it comes to ranking up, some of the spots that I really like right now are Naughty Nets, Breakwater Bay, and Shady Stilts. Those are just a couple of examples, and there are plenty of other POIs and even unnamed POIs like that, which you can land at, secure some good stuff, get a couple of kills, and rotate out. However, land wherever you like, and as long as you're surviving off spawn most of the time and you have some good loot and materials to back it, then you should be in a pretty good situation. It's going to come down to trial and error, but I'm sure you'll be able to find something good. And if you guys want to see videos about drop spots, like the best solo drop spots or duo drop spots or something like that, then definitely let me know. If that's something you guys want to see, then I can absolutely do that. And for the last section of this video, guys, I want to talk about improving at fighting, which is super important for ranking up this season since there are going to be a ton of W keyers with all the mobility in the game. Now, I do have a lot of videos about mechanics and fighting and all sorts of stuff like that, so I'm not going to go too crazy in depth with everything right here, but I do want to give you guys 2 maps and 1 extra tip, and hopefully this will help you get really good at fighting, and hopefully it'll carry over super well to your ranked games. Keep in mind that regardless of whether or not you're playing for placement, being able to fight is super important because you're going to have to fight eventually. Whether that's in early game, mid game, or end game, it's going to happen, so you want to be good at it. Of course, the first thing you want to do is work on your mechanics a good amount. One great map for this is Raiders Mechanics Map V3. This map has a huge combination of piece control, box fights, build fight practice, editing practice, and so much more. Especially when it comes to ending fights quickly, the piece control X peak section is going to be a super helpful one for you guys. The build and box fight sections are also going to be amazing, the editing sections, and just all of this stuff. It's a super helpful map. It has a huge variety of stuff, and overall it should help you guys an absolute ton. Another map I really like when it comes to direct fighting practice is going to be Ken Bean's Speed Realistic 1v1s. These basically put you and your opponent in close range and forces you to fight quickly in the type of fight you would run into a lot this season. Essentially, one of you spawns inside of a box and the other one is spawned basically flying towards that box. And you're meant to fight in close range, not use too many materials, and essentially treat it like you would in a regular game. This really carries over super well to ranked fights, and I really like this map. I'll go ahead and put the code up on screen to it right now. And lastly, guys, another way to improve at fighting is very simple, which is to play a lot of ranked and focus on playing for fights. Now, I know I told you guys that you want to focus on getting placement points sometimes depending on how you're playing, but although it goes against that strategy, this is one of the best ways to improve at the game and get more comfortable with fighting, which will make you better at ranking up long term. Keep in mind that even if you have to sacrifice your rank for a little bit and play for a lot of fights and get better at fighting, if you find yourself really struggling in fights, then this may be something you need to do in order to level up your gameplay. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices, and honestly, there's really no benefit to ranking up if you're just playing for placement and you're not able to get any kills and you're just getting destroyed every time you fight. So if you find that being the case, then focus on playing for fights, and if your rank adjusts, so be it. You can always get your rank back eventually by playing optimally, but if you find yourself really having a big weakness for fighting, then definitely try to play for more fights. And hopefully, although it's not the quick way to rank up, that should help you an absolute ton, and ultimately in the long term, it's going to make you way better at the game. But with all that said, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on how to rank up super fast in Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 4. Overall, by following all the tips in this video, you should find yourself ranking up super fast and hopefully ranking up higher than you did last season, and maybe even reaching Unreal if you haven't before. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you're new and want to see more. I post a ton of tips and tricks content just like this, so make sure you don't miss out. And lastly, guys, if you want to show some extra support, it's always appreciated if you could use code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you. It only takes like 5 seconds to type in, and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a giant thank you to everyone who uses it. But with all that said, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.